Hello, this is Gallifreyan Jedi, and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel for my next blog. And for today's blog, I'm going to do an overview, a character profile overview for Star Wars Rebels. Being that next month, in the month of October, Star Wars Rebels will be premiering on Disney XD, and I thought this would be a good time to do a character overview of the main characters for the show. Now, I did do in my second video blog, I did do kind of a short overview of the characters when I did that, but it was sort of kind of brief and inconclusive because I haven't learned at that point too much about the characters that were going to be on the show, so it's kind of incomplete and just a broad overview. I thought this would be a good time to go in and actually do a little bit of deeper study or deeper definitions and background on some of the main characters of the show. Being that since the time I did my second blog, I have learned a lot more about the show and what's going to happen and some of the details, and especially I did a lot more research on the main characters. So that's what I want to do today before the series starts in preparation for the premiere of Star Wars Rebels coming next month in October, which hopefully I will do some more blogs once it has premiered. But anyway, let's get on now to talk about what the show, a little bit about what it's going to be about. I have reviewed it before. Most people who are Star Wars fans and who have been following Star Wars and what's been going on recently with the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm and the creation of Star Wars Rebels will know a little bit about it, but let me give some background anyway. It's going to take place 5 years. This is the details, exact details. Excuse me, I do apologize for getting a little ahead of myself. The series is going to take 5 years before Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Now, most of you know, being that, Star Wars fans, shall I say, if you follow the timeline, being that it's in another galaxy other than Earth, to use a time calendar is kind of hard because they're not going by Earth calendar, so BC AD, so they don't have a year for that. So what Star Wars fans have done is basically measure the years, being that we first had the original trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6, and they've calculated before and after, shall we say, with episode 4. And the Battle of Yavin, which was the early one of the major battles early in the Galactic Civil War. So a lot of fans have measured time, how many years before the Battle of Yavin and how many years after the Battle of Yavin for events that have taken place in either the other Star Wars movies like the prequels or the Clone Wars or even the expanded universe. But anyway, I just thought explaining that. So the Star Wars Rebels will take place 5 years before the Battle of Yavin and Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Now, if you remember, if you've seen the all three films of Episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the prequel trilogy, you know that after the Emperor Palpatine has taken control over the Galactic Republic and rechristened it the Galactic Empire, committed the Great Jedi Purge, trying to murder and assassinate all the Jedis in the galaxy, and finally taken full control, dictatorial control over the entire galaxy. And where we left off is we see the Skywalker twins, Luke and Leia, being born, the death of Padme, the mother, and the wife of Anakin Skywalker, and the separation of the twins by Yoda and Obi-Wan, which were one of the two, senior surviving Jedi Masters, the only ones who survived the Jedi Holocaust, and Bail Organa of Alderaan, who had taken Leia. So the separation of the twins, and of course Luke was taken to Tatooine by Obi-Wan to be raised by Owen Barrow, the uncle, the step uncle, shall we say. Well, anyway, when that happened at the end of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, there was 19 years in between those events and the events of Episode 4, A New Hope. But being that when we pick up Star Wars Rebels, being that it's 5 years for Episode 4, it's going to be 14 years from the time of the end of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It's going to be 14 years into the reign of the Galactic Empire, when the Galactic Empire was reigning, the tyranny of the Galactic Empire was reigning over the galaxy, which was once free and democratic, and is ruled by a Sith Lord known as Darth Sidious, aka Emperor Palpatine. So that is where we pick up, and where we start off with in Star Wars Rebels. Now keep in mind, when we think of Rebels, we think of Episodes 4, 5, and 6. And interesting enough, the Rebels, the term Rebels, everybody, all Star Wars fans refer to Luke and Leia and the Rebel Alliance. You know, they refer to them as the Rebels. But actually, Rebels was a derogatory term, came up by the Empire. You know, Rebels were not known to be a good term. It was known to be the Rebels was known to be a derogatory term towards the people who were rebelling against what they felt was the rightful heir, the Galactic Empire ruling over the galaxy. But the actual name, it was the Rebels themselves, shall we say, the Rebel Alliance themselves refer to themselves as the Alliance, more so than the Rebels. That was their term. They refer to themselves as the Alliance. The actual term, the name of the organization, was known as the Alliance to Restore the Republic. That was distinguished in light of what happened previously with the Clone Wars. That was distinguished from what the Separatists were trying to separate from the Confederacy for Independent Systems was trying to separate from the Galactic Republic, so the galaxy would actually have two governments, two empires, or two forms of government in the galaxy. So when the rebellion had started under the Senators, they were making a statement that they didn't want to separate and create a whole other new government. They wanted to restore the actual Republic, which had fallen to an empire, fallen to a Sith Lord, who has now made himself emperor over the galaxy. So the term that they used, the official name, was the Alliance to Restore the Republic. And I'll probably do another blog sometime when I do on Star Wars mythology, maybe more on the origins and nature of the Alliance and what that, and the origins of that, and who was behind that, and what was their philosophy. But essentially, the Alliance to Restore the Republic was the name of the rebels, or what they named themselves, an official name, but it was a statement to say that they weren't separating from the Galactic Empire to make their own government. They wanted to overthrow Emperor Palpatine and restore the democracy of the Republic, which was lost. But when we pick up the Star Wars Rebels, we're not there yet. We're not exactly there yet when the official Alliance to Restore the Republic has officially established itself as an organization, which hopefully, I think that's what the show is going to be about, is the showing how the rebels actually came to be about. The show when the show starts, we will have people who are rebelling, rebels who are rebelling, not the official organization of the Alliance, but we will have people who are rebelling against the Galactic Empire, and that's where this series will focus in on. It will have 6 main characters. Now, I'm sure we will see cameos of others throughout. I know that we'll see Lando Calrissian, a cameo of Lando Calrissian. I know that for a fact that Billy D. Williams is coming back for a cameo, and obviously for the show, for obviously to do Lando Calrissian. So we'll see him maybe more in his younger days, prior to the time we see him in Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. But the main characters of the show, the protagonists of the show, there will be 6 main characters or 6 main protagonists for Star Wars Rebels. And they will, and collectively together, they will be known as the crew of the Ghost ship. The Ghost will be the name of the main ship, just like we have in episodes 4, 5, and 6. We have the Millennium Falcon had become a famous ship. Well, the Ghost will be such a ship, which the protagonist will be traveling on. It's known as the ship will be known as the Ghost, and in the crew, the 6 protagonists will be known as the members of the Ghost, they will include a teenage con artist known as Ezra Bridger, a former Jedi who is now in hiding and known as a Jedi cowboy, known as Kanan Jarrus. Then there will be an alien known as Garzeb, his short name known as Zeb, Aurelios. He will be the muscles of the group. Then you will have an astromech droid. Astromech droids, for those who might not be familiar, think of R2-D2. He's the most famous astromech droid. But this astromech droid will be the C-110P, or known as Chopper. His name will be Chopper. Go by the name of Chopper. Then, interesting enough, we'll have a Mandalorian explosive expert known as Sabine Wren. And then we will finally, we also will have a Twilight pilot for the Ghost, Hera Syndulla. She will be the main pilot for the Ghost ship. Well, those are the 6 main characters for the protagonist, shall we say, for Star Wars Rebels. And as you know, any good show with a good cast of protagonists also has to have a good cast of antagonists, the evil, the bad guys. And certainly this will have its share. The 2 main ones I'm going to be covering in this, the 2 main ones that I will be covering, the 2 main antagonists that I'm familiar with, will be Agent Kallus. He, a Galactic Empire agent, a spy, intelligence, start of Galactic Empire, Imperial Intelligence. And the other one is the Imperial Inquisitor, which should give you a little bit of his name shall, give you a little bit of a hint on what he will be, what his role will be. But let me get to the characters in order to give you an overview of what each one is. That I think that will be helpful. Let's talk about Kanan Jarrus. Okay, he's a human male Jedi Padawan. He survived Order 66. Order 66 in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was Jedi Purge, the command that the secret command that Palpatine had put into the clone troopers in order for them at the specific time when he gave the order for them to assassinate all the Jedi, to try to attempt to try to kill all the Jedi and murder them all at once, so they could not retaliate against Palpatine. But he survived. He was one of the ones who survived the Jedi Holocaust, the Purge. Now he's going to be known more so like a Jedi cowboy, and meaning basically, even though he's going to keep to his Jedi ways, with his lightsaber and the Jedi arts, but he's also going to be using laser blasters and other stuff, and that make him unique or distinct from your average Jedi. So and also too, he's going to be training or taking Ezra, the young boy Ezra Bridger, under his wing to train him, which I'm going to get to in a second why he will be doing that. Basically, but it looks like from what I see from this character profile, he's going to eventually, even though that Hera, it will be the pilot, he will ultimately be the leader of the group. He will, I guess, and that would make sense because Jedis are supposed to use the wisdom of the Force, and maybe he will have enough of his training to be able to lead them in a rebellion against the Empire. He will eventually be their leader. Unofficial, but he will be their leader. Let's go on to Ezra Bridger. Ezra Bridger is a 14-year-old human. He lives on the planet Lothal, and that's where we're probably in the pilot will pick up. We'll see the planet Lothal, where the Empire comes to Lothal. He's a con artist because you gotta remember he's an orphan. He's orphaned during the time of the war, and so he sort of grows up on his own and learns to survive by being a con artist and a thief. And of course, he doesn't have a problem with stealing things from the Empire. He becomes very street smart, shall I say. But the interesting thing about him is when the series picks up, he will be discovered to be force sensitive. Force sensitive is a living being who has a midichlorian count that's high enough that they can learn how to manipulate the Force and use the Force, and those are the ones usually who are trained as a Jedi. And Kanan Jarrus, who is the Jedi, will discover that in him, and he will discover that those abilities, his Force-sensitive abilities, and his abilities to use the Force, and therefore he will take him under his wing to train him as a Jedi. And I guess hopefully we will see that as the show progresses, how he's being trained, because obviously he's never been trained. Probably doesn't know, as far as I'm assuming, doesn't know that he has these abilities, but he will discover so, and Jarrus will encourage him, will train him, take him under to befriend him and to train him. Anyway, let's go on to Hera Syndulla. Hera Syndulla. She's a female Twilight. Remember, if I mentioned in the first, the second blog that I did, the Twilights usually blue-skinned. They have the tentacles, shall I say, of those two tentacles on the top of their head, and they're from the planet Ryloth, and which is a planet that's members of the Republic. So Hera Syndulla will be a Twilight. She will be the pilot. The ghost ship will be hers, and she will be an expert pilot. She will. Says here that it shall be independent and strong-minded, and somewhat of a strong character, skilled pilot, and a very skilled, also not as a pilot but as a gunner, and essentially she will be crucial or one of the main protagonists for the show. And it also it indicates too that Hera will serve as a mentor for Sabine, and basically, I guess she sounds like, from what I'm getting here, is that she will sort of be the soul or the heart of that group. She will help some of the character flaws and some of the other characters. She will help them work those out. like with Zeb Orrelios, when his anger and his temper, she will be able to calm him and stuff like that. And she's also the owner of Chopper. Astromech droids usually have an owner, just like R2-D2 is owned by Skywalker. So Chopper will be owned by her. Well, let's go to Zeb Orrelios. Zeb is his full name, but he'll be going by Zeb. Okay, it says here he's a Lasset. I'm sure I'll have to learn more about that alien race, but it's a new alien race that's introduced to the mythology, the Star Wars myth. And he's known as the Muscles. Think of the A-Team and what Mr. T was. Mr. T had a temper at times, but he was a good guy, and he came in and if there was muscle, if there was a fist fight, he was the best in a fist fight to take down the bad guys. Well, Zeb Orrelios will be like that. He will be like a warrior, not a Force user like a Jedi, but he will be a warrior, and think of like a Klingon, that he will be able to use muscle. He'll be able to use physical power in a fist fight. He's also very highly educated, but usually, even though with his temper, he does have a heart for the group and for people, and he will be very loyal and faithful to the Ghost crew. But anyway, moving on, let's talk about Sabine Wren. Now, Sabine Wren is going to be interesting because she's going to be a Mandalorian. This is the first time that you would have something in Star Wars where you have a Mandalorian as a main protagonist. I mean, we've seen both in the movies and also in the Clone Wars, and also as well as the expanded universe, we've seen Mandalorians as antagonists or other sub-characters, but never as a protagonist. Well, Sabine Wren will be the first Mandalorian who will be a protagonist. Now, it's interesting. I don't want to go too far into the Mandalorians. It's probably a blog I will probably save later for Star Wars mythology, explaining the Mandalorians, the history of the Mandalorians. But there was a controversy between some of those who followed the expanded universe compared to the Clone Wars on the history and the nature or the current history of the Mandalorians. Their warlike nature compared to their modern nature of passivity. But that's something to save for another blog. I personally don't see that much of a controversy, but there's other fans who have. But I'll save that for another blog. But anyway, she's a Mandalorian. She's an expert at explosives, and she probably is very good for covert stuff and missions against carrying out missions against the Empire. She's good with armor and weapons, and also, like I said, with explosives. So she will be good with that. She's in, where Zeb is more like muscles. He's good in a fist fight. Sabine would probably be more like covert. And her actions, and which he can contribute towards the ghost ship and the rebellion. Now we're going to get to the astromech droid Chopper, the C-110P. He's going to be the ghost irritable astromech droid, and astromech droids usually are ones who repair ships and they build things and stuff like that. And now R2-D2 has a personality. He has a likable personality. Well, Chopper will too, but he's supposed to be described as sort of grumpy. Not a droid that's built from older parts, a droid that sort of is developed or evolved into a very stubborn, very irritable, crankerous personality. he and Zeb, it's described that he and Zeb, of course, Zeb being his personality, quick to temper, they're going to have a dislike for each other and have arguments. So that ought to be interesting. And like I said, Hera, it will be the owner of Chopper. But if we can move on, I think we've covered the six protagonists. Really quick. Well, I don't want to just blow through this, but I want to talk about the two main antagonists that we start out with for the show. You remember I said, that just like the movies have good protagonists, with Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Mace Windu, etc., etc. We have the main protagonist, but we also have good, awesome antagonists: Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Darth Tyranus, which is Count Dooku, General Grievous, etc., etc. Well, we have a couple antagonists that we start out with in Star Wars Rebels. Let's start out with the first one, Agent Kallus. Okay, he's going to be with the group, the Imperial Security, which is known as ISB, Imperial Security Bureau, and that's the Galactic Empire's Imperial Intelligence Organization. It's going to operate, if you're familiar with Star Trek, if you follow Star Trek and you watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine, you might get an idea of what they're like. The Cardassians in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Cardassians have their own, the race of the Cardassians have their own intelligence operatives, Black Ops, and known as the Obsidian Order. The Obsidian Order is for the Cardassians' intelligence, which they carry out Black Ops. The Romulans use the Tal Shiar. Tal Shiar is the Romulans' intelligence organization, and even ironically, secretively, the United Federation of Planets has their own kind of illegal Black Ops intelligence, known as Section 31. That's an interesting storyline in Deep Space Nine, which I don't want to get off because I'm talking about Star Wars and not Star Trek. But if you follow Star Trek and you've seen Star Trek Deep Space Nine, you're familiar with the Obsidian Order, the Tal Shiar, and even Section 31, so you can get an idea of what the Imperial Security Bureau. Well, Agent Kallus is one of those agents, and he will do Black Ops missions trying to undercover. Trying to discover rebellions and people who are practicing or speaking about dissent against the Galactic Empire. He'll try to justify it, just like any good bad. No bad guy just says I'm a bad guy. Bad guys think that they're actually doing good, and he's going to believe himself to be a patriot because he thinks that dissent is destructive to the order of the galaxy, which Palpatine has created. So he's going to try to root out the dissent and eliminate those people who are speaking out against dissent, which would be obviously, dissent in our American culture is essential because First Amendment, we have freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. But the Galactic Empire obviously is not going to believe that. They're going to think that as something destructive towards their culture, so they're going to eliminate it even by force. So Agent Kallus will be in that role. Then and the last one, which is interesting. This is like the who Darth Maul and Darth Vader is for the movies. This is Darth, and this is the Imperial Inquisitor. And the Imperial Inquisitor should give you an idea. He will be given a job by Darth Vader to hunt the few remaining Jedi who survived the Holocaust of the Jedi Purge with Emperor Palpatine's Order 66. he will actually have the powers of the Force. He would be Force sensitive, but as you know, the order of the two with the Sith will only allow a master and an apprentice. Will not allow multiple Sith, so he won't be trained as a Sith, but he'll be probably closer to a Dark Jedi. He will be from the race of pawns. If you race of pawns, they're from the planet Utapau. Utapau was in the episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And if you know the planet Utapau, that's the planet which have the sinkholes. They live in underground caves and cities that are underneath the sinkholes of the planet. That will be his race. He will be ruthless, just like Darth Maul is, or just like Count Dooku, or just like General Grievous. He's going to be a character just like that, or Darth Maul, or Darth Vader, etc., etc. So he'll probably be the main bad guy in the sense that he will be a Jedi hunter, a Jedi killer, and a Jedi hunter. And obviously, he will be, he'll be trying to, when he discovers when he discovers the Jedi Kanan and Ezra, obviously they will become, he will be determined to hunt them down and destroy the both of them. So they will not have an opposition to Darth Sidious and bringing down the Sith from its power and its control over the galaxy. But anyway, that is essentially an overview. That's essentially an overview of all the characters, the 6 protagonists, and 2 antagonists. Maybe throughout the series, as the series continues, we'll have more antagonists. Just like in the Clone Wars, they picked up more antagonists and other characters as the show went on, even protagonists. But anyway, that sums up the major characters for Star Wars Rebels. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Probably I'll do other blogs when I get more information and after the series premieres. So that's something to look forward to. I want to thank everyone for watching this blog. If you enjoy my material, I ask you to please subscribe to my channel so you get all the latest updates when I update on Star Wars and Doctor Who and maybe some other stuff on science fiction. So I want to thank everyone, wish everyone a good day, and may the Force be with you.